Good afternoon, everybody. We are very happy to welcome you for the first panel session of the Future Leaders Forum. Following plenary discussions on the future energy map of high-level discussions of ministers, and following the discussion on the key qualities a leader should have, a CEO discussion, we are turning now to a thematic discussion on from business academia to back. I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Yuri Pikhtovnikov of Lukoil, Professor Viktor Martinov, Rector of Gubkin University, Andrei Glaskov, Head of Personal Development of Tatneft, Christine Travers, Dean of IFP School, France, and Mr. Sarsenov's cooperate, who will read his speech since Mr. Sarsenov was not able to join us today, and also Pinar Yilmaz of ExxonMobil and WPC. The topic of today's discussion will be collaborative partnerships of oil and gas industry and academic institutions, and how these partnerships contribute to the competitiveness of the industry and the development of talents of the future. Since we are a bit late with the schedule, I would invite our first speaker to join to take the panel and present Lukoil's approach to talent development.
Good afternoon, dear friends, dear colleagues. I would like once again to thank the organizers for having the possibility of meeting young people from different countries to exchange the trends and the direction of the work that are of great concern to the industry and probably all of us as humans. Now we pass on to more practical themes, not the themes that were discussed at the previous sessions. And taking this opportunity, I would like to tell you about the experience of our company, which can be used by other companies, not only in one country. These can be different countries, but nevertheless, we understand that the basic trends are already involved in our business. Of course, I would like to tell you that fuel and energy complex is the science-intense production. And in modern world, it seems as a locomotive dragging the entire economy of many countries and many sectors related with our industry. New fields are developed not only on land but in the offshore zone, and we more and more go deep into the sea. But our industry creates new jobs, and new jobs mean a provision of stability for the people. Today, Zatan Gamch has already mentioned that we're working in 42 countries, so I won't dwell on it. And in our work, we proceed from the trends that are given to us by the modern world. First is, of course, digitization and transformation of business. Our company is already implementing the initiative of digital Lukoil 4.0, since we have come here also for considering the development of the new leaders. Probably I can say that we're using such a trend as digital personnel, which is an integral part of digitization, that is a digital ecosystem, robotic and digital twin. Digital personnel is a personnel which has all the skills of working with modern products which surround us in the world. The next challenge which was brought by the present world is that more and more emphasis is placed on such a theme that is called leadership.
And it's absolutely necessary to develop the targeted leadership model to reach success in contemporary world. There are lots of different tasks and objectives we have to deal with. Nonetheless, I would like to refer to a very interesting study we use in our work. There was the sociological opinion survey done, opinion poll of the millennials, those young people who started their career quite recently. Question for them was, what should be ideal boss for you? And most of the respondents say they would like to see a mentor in their boss who helps them to develop. 29% responded that they would like to see the idea inspire and driver in their boss. 18% say that they would like to see a good friend you can discuss personal and business problems in the boss, and only 17% responded that they would prefer to work under the leadership of the senior person, superior in career or hierarchy, helping them to find answers to different questions. We take that into account in our work. So when we're going to foster top qualified specialists, we start from structuring work with young people since high school. When we come along to high school, that is general secondary level of education, and we outreach those schools, and we promote engineering technical professions, and we outreach schools, and we work with best students. And as Adam said, that we cooperate with 8 institutions of higher learning, but presently we cooperate with more than 66 institutions of learning of different levels, secondary schools, vocational schools, and colleges and universities. So those young people who opt for works in oil and gas sector, we try to get them adjusted to the environment which exists in the production, because nowadays oftentimes, some of the educational programs and curricula are lagging behind the industrial needs. But Azat Ankamovich in his presentation mentioned that we outsource part of our work to institutions of learning, to universities and vocational schools, whereby lecturers and students can do the simplest jobs and get financial remuneration based on the signed agreement on services we signed with them. That way we'll be able to structure a very good system of good specialists for our company, mindful of the fact that our session was postponed and started later to save time and to have more time for questions. I would like to dwell on something else in my presentation. And of course, the organizers will mail out electronically all our presentations. I just mentioned that our company is open for cooperation, and we have got our external website as the instrument for search of innovative solutions. This portal, anyone who can come up with interesting, innovative solution will be invited for cooperation in our company will invite such a person to our company. It's a good cooperation when production is a good fusion with education as well. It will be a synergetic effect. I've been very brief, but I hope that when we have a brief Q&A session, we'll tell you more, which might be interesting for you, and we'll carry through in the format of Q&A later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. We are very eager to present you soon also the results of the survey that the young professionals of the WPC have conducted this year. And we have respondents for 74 countries, and I would really like to hear your opinion on the results since you have also had this survey in Lukoil. I would now call Professor Viktor Martinov, Rector of Gubkin State University, to give his speech.
Good afternoon, dear leaders, distinguished friends, young leaders, contemporary leaders. We have got a very challenging task to articulate, to thoroughly formulate what we want from education when it comes to fostering future leaders. My presentation is entitled "The Way to the University of 4.0 is the fourth industrial revolution of the sixth industrial technological setup," as we say here in Russia. We have entered the era of very rapid transformations, which changes drastically the entire landscape we live in, and requirements are entirely different. Nonetheless, our sectoral education is very different from education per se, because we do not turn out the graduates for the market. Then they should be undergoing in-service training. Instead, we turn out our alumni who are customized and tailor-made for the labor market in oil and gas sector. Without the involvement of industry, it's not possible to prepare high-level specialists for this sector. And in the previous presentation, we mentioned rapid changes in our sector and in other sectors as well. And the education should be equally changing when it comes to the very content of this education. What do we want from young leaders of the industry? First of all, it's academic knowledge, it's professional knowledge and professional skills. It's also soft skills and leadership competences and skills. That's the backbone. That's what we would like to convey, and that's what the industry would like to get from us. And what is the role of industry in training specialists? First and foremost, of course, it's about creating professional standards, national and international alike. In education, everything is ever-changing as well, and even before finalizing professional standards, we have to amend them. So everything is moving so rapidly in this spinning world, and in education, the changes come up very rapidly, and the change in educational professional standards should outstrip the general pace. And it so happens that educational standards are changing and redefining rather slowly, which hampers the development of our sector in new conditions. What else is needed to turn out successful leaders for our sector? We need highly professional milieu in the university, which is created by the faculty, by university with the help of the industry. It's about professional curricula, professional software production simulators, digital production counterparts, interdisciplinary training in case internship, subjects of course and final works, development of student scientific society and petroleum society, student research, design bureaus, additional professional education of students informally outside the educational standards. Also, they develop to keep abreast of the changes happening in current industry. Internships of lecturers at work. Without that, we won't have high level of education, I mean high quality, and also the participation of lecturers in real research and production order, and success of any innovation whatsoever depends on incentives and motivations. Efficiency of any event for innovation whatsoever, its performance depends first of all upon personal competences. As a professor, I cannot do without formulas, so here is the formula. The personal competence performance depends on personal professional competences and leadership personal competences. And motivation is very important. Motivation provides for much greater effect vis-a-vis any competences which human beings will get, and minus organizational barriers which are always around helping the implementation. It could be different bureaucratic entities or inferior bosses, lots of different problems we typically complained about. And likewise, I would like to identify another role of industry in training specialists. It's about competitive employment and practice venues, real employment, and creating a system of personnel career growth, building career ladders for young professionals in the company, programs of support of development of young specialists, basic departments in chairs opened up in many universities, thorough selection of students, participation of specialists from this sector, from the industry education, special courses, preparation and publication of educational literature, including electronic form, participation in professional challenges, that is, competitions and student work contests. And also it's about the employment of those young people we are training at the university. Imagine that we turned them out, but they didn't find their employment in the labor market. That means that all the university efforts to bring good specialists goes down the drain, so to put it. And trends affecting youth employment. It's new technologies, new automation, digitalization through the process chain. It's about RES, that is renewable energy sources development, which substitutes oil and gas sector. Although it should be mentioned, but many companies, although they are poor energies, nonetheless they develop renewable sources of energy, and Lukoil is also doing that. Lukoil is a leader in Russia on the development of renewables. We have got our basic chair jointly with at Gubkin Oil University. It's the chair of the renewables. And retirement age. In Russia, retirement age has been rising, so the number of jobs for young people will be reduced. Employment growth, those trends are around as well. It's about the increased output, deterioration of geological and mining different conditions because we're going deeper and deeper, so there will be more difficult reservoirs there. So labor intensity of oil and gas sector upstream will increase. Offshore production, tapping new regions and markets. The role and the cost and price of oil and gas in the global markets, it corresponds to the volumes of upstream. Development of new sectors of energy, like shales production, or in the US, or LNG market development. That impacts employment in the market. As to which sectors it will mostly affect, we think that the employment slump will be only at the notch of 1 or 2% per annum on the whole around the world. That's the global trend. But in different countries and in different sectors, it will happen differently. And first of all, the production slump will mostly be seen in the sectors whereby it's easier to automate and to digitalize in transport and downstream. In E&P sector, human share will be much higher. Same goes for the sales of the downstream products as well. So my major corollary is that in most likelihood, presently we're in a situation when we should train maybe not more leaders, more specialists, but rather we should maybe train the same amount or even slightly less for way out into the future, but much better quality. Is the quality of education, the quality of competence of those would be specialists. That's what's very important. One of the field marshals in military actions of the 18th and 19th century used to say that sometimes less is not so bad if your soldiers are well prepared. We massively developed master's degree for practice-oriented research. 70% of IB bachelor's degree and specialty continue their education to get master's degree. This will safeguard the desired quality and practice-oriented development. That way we'll train high-quality specialists. And as has been mentioned in the morning session, we'll also foster not just CEOs of the companies, future CEOs, but leaders. Thank you. That's it.
Professor Martynov, thank you very much for a very comprehensive overview of all the programs that Gubkin University offers. We would later also like to hear from you how you cooperate with industry and how do you measure the impact of the programs that you have at universities on graduates. I would now invite Ms. Christine Travers of IFP School, France, to take the floor.
So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like first to thank the organizer for having invited me to take part in this panel session dealing with the close collaboration between industrial companies and academia, which is our model for a long time. I'm really honored to share with you our experience in that field in IFP Énergie Nouvelle for training activities. First of all, I would like to say a few words about IFP Énergie Nouvelle. It is a public sector research and innovation center at the heart of energy innovation. It is also an industrial group of 4,500 people and a training center. The main mission of IFP Énergie Nouvelle is to provide solutions to industry to take up the challenges facing society in a context of climate change and energy transition. These main challenges are meeting the growing demand for mobility, diversifying energy sources, increasing energy efficiency, and improving the availability and use of fossil resources. These challenges led to three priorities: value creation, research and innovation, and training. I would like now to emphasize this training priority. The training mission of IFP Énergie Nouvelle, which is to provide industry with high-level professionals, is entrusted to both IFP School and IFP Training. IFP School is a professional academic institution, part of IFP Énergie Nouvelle, devoted to young graduate specialization coming from universities after at least 4 years of higher education and of high potential young professionals. IFP Training is a continuing education organization, a 100% subsidiary of IFP Énergie Nouvelle, which trains professionals for industry throughout their life and at any level. Let me turn now to IFP School, whose model is based on its strong links with industry. IFP School is an engineering school specializing in energy innovation and sustainable mobility, whose mission is to provide industry with people immediately operational, thanks to our outstanding graduate programs adapted to the needs of the energy and transport sectors, in line with the societal challenges associated with the energy transition. We awarded 6 undergraduates per year. 50% of foreign students are present in the 2019 class and coming from more than 45 different nationalities. IFP School programs concern 4 different fields: powertrain and sustainable mobility, energy economics and management, processes for energy and chemicals, including refining and petrochemicals, of course, georesources and energy, including exploration and production. More than 8 out of 10 students receive industry funding, including high-potential young professionals seconded by their companies. The pedagogical model is based on sandwich training, alternating between periods in companies and periods at school, with a real sharing and complementarity in the acquisition of skills. 350 lecturers come from industry to share their experience with our students. Most of these lecturers are alumni who give their experience back to the school. Each year, the size of the class is adapted to the needs of the companies in terms of recruitment. A very careful selection of the student is made first by IFP School and validated by the companies. Doing that, the employment rate is higher than 95%, less than 3 months after graduation. The content of the programs is also validated each year by the companies, and depending on their needs in terms of new skills, it is adjusted or modified. For example, this year, we've modified all our programs in the field of powertrains and sustainable mobility to follow the exciting evolution of the European automobile sector to the electrical and connected vehicles. Companies also support IFP schools' development by financing industrial chairs for education and research. Let's turn now to IFP training. IFP training was created in 1975 within the IFP group to meet the training needs of professionals from the oil, gas, chemical, and powertrain industry to develop the skills of operators, technicians, engineers, and managers throughout the oil and gas value chain, to certify workforce competency, to develop local content in nearly the same 4 fields as IFP school. For that, IFP training proposed customized solutions to meet industry needs. In-house courses and public courses in its 6 training centers, customized training courses from discovery to advanced level, career paths to develop people, certification and accreditation of training centers, and consulting services such as competencies assessment system. Together, IFP School and IFP Training have developed off-site programs for foreign companies to help them to develop their human resources and particularly their young professionals. These off-site programs are delivered jointly with a local university and include an internship of at least 4 months in the company's facilities. Since 2004, 59 sessions have been delivered. 981 young professionals have been awarded, including 138 in Russia, some of them are in this room, for Gazprom Neft Ekim, with Gubkin, Ufa, and Omsk universities. To conclude, I would like to say that developing and maintaining strong links between academia and business is a win-win process. For students first, who are confident that they will find a job and immediately feel comfortable with it. Second, for companies that employ young people who are immediately operational because they are especially trained for the companies, which will therefore increase their productivity. And finally, for universities that are sure to provide education in line with the market demand and, incidentally, to increase their own resources. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Travers. We would very much like to hear a bit more in the following part of the discussion session on the way you cooperate with companies to ensure employability, the validation methods that you're using. I'm very happy now to present, to announce that Zaid, the Young Professionals Committee member from Kuwait, will present the results of the survey that the young professionals of the WPC have conducted this year in relation to the opinions of students and young professionals on the cooperation between industry and academia. So I hope you enjoy the survey. I would like to ask how many of the participants currently in the room have completed the survey? Okay. we have participants from 75 countries in the survey, and I hope that it will contribute a bit to the debate, and I hope you can also reflect during the discussion session on the opinions and the outcomes of the survey.
Can we have the slides? Sorry, can we have the slides, please? Do you guys enjoy the survey?
Zaid, if you want to start with the introduction.
Okay, I'll begin with the introduction. So basically, the survey focused on understanding how respondents feel about the oil and gas sector and industry collaborations. And we wanted to get a sense from young people of how they perceived such collaborations and maybe address the general awareness of such programs and support mechanisms and track records. So we are glad to say that our survey reached 1,000 respondents within 1 month from 74 countries across 6 continents. That's very impressive. Thank you all for your participation. And this outreach was done with the help of the survey ambassadors as well. All around the world, 74 countries. Kuwait within the lead, Russian Federation to follow, Oman, China, Iran, Spain. We have a very good regional distribution of the survey. And this allowed us to collect a very good sample population as well. So as I said, we aim to understand how youth perceive the general perception of the industry and academia collaboration. And we wanted to use this data as a tool for decision makers, whether inside the WPC network or outside, to further foster industry and academia collaboration and maybe even give a fresh boost to such relationship and prepare a talent pool for the future. So most of our respondents were young, within their 20s. It was very interesting to see that a lot of them were holders of master's or PhD degrees. We have 70% participation from young employees, 30% were students. We have 38% female participation, which is higher than last year's edition, 22%, so thank you, ladies. And most of the surveys were of engineers, mostly petroleum engineers, over half. 66% of students and 55% believe that they benefited from such collaborations between the industry and academic sector, and 60% of currently employed professionals believe this was a decision factor for them getting employed in the industry. That's pretty powerful, don't you think? We wanted to see what types of programs people, youngsters, professionals were engaged in, and we see most people may avail the use of industry experts in guest lectures and conferences, and a lot of students and young professionals were engaged in internships, site visits, R&D projects, and industry-based final year projects. We further asked our respondents, which programs do you find most beneficial and rewarding? And the consensus was for internships. And then we had conferences and volunteer experience as well. Unfortunately, 1/3 of respondents said that they have not been engaged in such collaborations, and this was mostly due to them being unaware of such programs. However, when we've asked these respondents, what would drive you to be engaged in these in these programs, students said that they would want to invest their time and energy in exchange for work experience, whilst young professionals said they want to be engaged in order to share their knowledge about the industry with prospective students and further maybe guide students for their career development. Nearly all of young employees believe in lifelong learning, and most of them would be willing to obtain specialized certifications and specific courses related to their field, whilst 40% said that they would want to pursue higher education. So this is very promising. We believe that investing in research and development projects to innovate and create new technologies is vital in enabling the industry to meet global energy demands and also ensure competitiveness. Around half of our respondents confirm that they have had the opportunity to take part in such projects between the industry and academic sector. And they believe that the top drive for this was to combine the skills and knowledge of both sectors to find solutions. This is very interesting, especially for our speakers. When we asked how aligned is the university curriculum with industry trends and technological developments, 70% of students think that the curriculum is aligned. Whilst young professionals think only 30% thought that it was aligned. So maybe this is a message to the academic sector that young professionals do not feel that the curriculum is aligned with real life situations and programs. To better understand the concerns and expectations of prospective students, we investigated their views on finding job placements in the oil and gas industry. While they do express a general confidence in chances for employment, they also simultaneously anticipate the lack of job opportunities and lack of necessary skill sets that the industry requires. While 60% of students highlight that work experience gained during their studies will have a major influence on their future employment in the industry. This was an interesting cross-analysis we did. We found that people who are members of professional associations are more likely to be engaged in industry and academic partnerships. So we found that maybe being engaged in professional associations was an influential factor to this. Also, in view of notable mobility and internationalization of education, a significant number of respondents highlighted the need for industry to take into account international students when tailoring for corporate programs. Okay, this is a really interesting question. When we asked students, if you had the chance to start all over again, would you change your educational path? Almost 70% of both students and young professionals said that they would not start over. They do not regret their educational path. So this is a very promising outlook for the future of the industry. When we asked all our respondents what they think the general sentiment of the collaboration between oil and gas industry and academia, most people were satisfied, students more than young professionals. But I think there is room for improvement. When we drafted this question, we asked, who do you think is the most important contributor to economic development? And we had this economic development triangle. There was a lot of debate on whether to have this question in the survey or not. A lot believed that this was a slam dunk answer, and most people will go for the typical and safe answer and say all equal. We were surprised to see that the majority believe that the industry has to take the lead. And this is actually a very powerful message. This shows that people rely and trust the industry for academic empowerment. And maybe we can further deduce from this that industry should be taking a lead to foster these collaborations with the academic sector. And I'll leave you at this. Back to Tamara.
Thank you, Zaid. We are very proud of the results of the survey, and if you want to see the full report, you can access it at the Future Leaders Forum website and also on the website of the World Petroleum Council. And we look forward to discussing further with you and with our speakers if there was a result that was maybe surprising. I would now invite Mr. Andrei Glaskov, Head of Personnel Department of Tatneft, to present Tatneft approach.
Добрый день, да, уже ближе к вечеру.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a video trailer.
Ну, наверное, очень такие важные тут
I think
этом ролике продемонстрированы наши ценности
this video
нашей
trailer
компании. И
displayed the
хотелось бы
core values of
кратко
our
постараюсь быть
company.
краток.
And I'll be
Презентация
very brief in my
достаточно большая, я буду
presentation,
щелкать.
although it's very
Но
lengthy.
тем не
I'll
менее,
be
хотелось
skipping
бы
some
мне несколько
slides,
своих
maybe.
выступлений вязать с
I would
предыдущими
like somehow to
докладчиками и
recap on
какие-то
what previous
интересные
speakers also
показать, какие
said.
практики у нас
And
реализуются.
I'll
Вот. И,
refer to the
соответственно, это будет как
practices we
затравка
have
для,
taken
наверное,
on
какого-то
board
все-таки
in
диалога,
our
который у нас
company,
состоится в рамках
and
панельной
maybe I'll be
дискуссии.
able to
Но
trigger the
тоже, пока
dialogue
сидел
for panel
в социологии, посмотрел, у
discussion.
нас в зале от 47 до
In our
52 человек
audience,
варьируется. Давайте все-таки поймем,
there are
кто у нас с кем
about
нам будет общаться.
50
Кто из
people sitting
наших
in the
здесь
hall.
участников
Let's figure
молодые
out
специалисты
who are the
компании?
young
Поднимите, пожалуйста.
specialists from the companies. Raise your hands.
Так, кто из наших
Who
участников
out of those
студенты?
participants in the audience are
Молодые
students?
специалисты, студенты, отлично.
Great.
Преподаватели, есть преподаватели?
Trainers,
тоже есть.
lecturers.
Так, а кто
Yes.
руководители?
Who are the leaders?
Так, отлично, пересечение, так. И давайте, наверное, HR-специалисты. Есть ли тут HR?
HR specialists.
И HR даже есть. Слушайте,
HR
молодые специалисты,
specialists are
отлично.
here. Great.
То есть, в принципе, я надеюсь, все, что мы говорим,
So
да,
I
и
hope that
это
everything we
ложится на
have been
какую-то благодатную
discussing
почву, потому
here
что мы
somehow will
неоднократно
fit
вот
into what you
большая
have been
тусовка экспертов,
doing
которые там
in your respective
из месяца в месяц,
workplaces.
из недели в неделю встречаются и почти об одних и
And
тех же каких-то
actually,
проблемах говорит. Тем не менее, мы в ходе этих
encounter
диалогов
similar
друг у друга чему-то
problems,
учимся и надеемся, что
and the
в
dialogue
рамках этой
with
панельной дискуссии что-то у
structure
вас останется,
will
какие-то
be
интересные практики,
reciprocal
которые
for all
вы
of us because we'll
незамедлительно,
be
когда мы
sharing
говорим, что
very
у
interesting
нас время
practices,
перемен, да, и
maybe
change, да, рано это
because
понятно, мы все
changes
время
are
о совершенстве
happening
процесса,
so
но change
rapidly,
должен
we
быть моментальный, да, от
kept
этого
hearing
зависит успех.
about it.
Значит,
Success depends on how
несколько
fast we adjust to those
слов, да, не
changes.
зря, наверное, ценности, мы лидеры, мы эффективны, мы технологичны,
We
мы
are leaders,
сотрудничество,
we
мы
are
команда, они такие очень
high-tech,
глобальные, и
we are
мы,
efficient,
занимаясь
we've
в
got
компании развитием
wonderful
персонала,
core
к
values, we
сожалению, наверное,
develop
может быть, для
personnel in
HR это к
our
счастью,
company.
да, к сожалению,
Unfortunately,
у нас
maybe
всего
fortune
текучка в
for
компании
HR,
10 тысяч
our
человек, всего лишь 3,7%.
turnover is
И
very
тем более
low
с
in the
учетом
company,
пенсионного
and
возраста мы
mindful of the
стареем, все
retirement
компании, да,
age,
и
we
хотелось бы
have been
больше
aging all
омоложать
those
и
companies. We would
коллектив,
like
тем не
to
менее мы
rejuvenate
стараемся там ежегодно
our
в блоке
headcount.
downstream, upstream
But
порядка
let's
там
say
300
in
человек
downstream
принимать.
and
Ну и,
upstream
соответственно, для нас
unit,
задача, грубо так
actually,
мерить, у нас
we recruit
достаточно
new specialists. At Tatneft,
диверсифицированный бизнес, у нас
we
и
have
upstream, и
highly
downstream, и даже
diversified
банковский сектор есть.
business,
Поэтому,
upstream,
когда мы
downstream,
говорим о кооперации,
retail,
сегодня у нас тема
even
как раз
banking
кооперация,
business,
сотрудничество
mindful of
между вузами,
cooperation
научными структурами
between the
и
universities,
бизнесом, то как
scientific
раз здесь не
centers, and
только в аспекте молодых
businesses.
специалистов подготовки, а в аспекте
And
еще,
it's
как мы
not
можем,
just
какие
about
новые форматы, новые программы
turning
по
out new
развитию действующих
specialists, but
специалистов.
also what could we do
И в этой
for
связи как
in-service
раз
training
несколько
of the specialists who we
расскажу о
already
тех интересных
recruited to our
примерах,
company.
практиках, которые
I'll tell
получили
you
в группе
about
Татнефть.
interesting
Но тоже немаловажно, да,
practices
наверное,
we
конечно,
have
в
at
каждой компании,
Tatneft. In each and
когда
every
мы говорим о
company,
стратегии, куда
when we
движется
speak about the
компания,
strategy
бизнеса, куда
and which
движется у
way the
каждого
company has
бизнес-блока,
been
есть
heading
бизнес-направления свои
towards,
стратегии.
our
Конечно, человеческий
blocks
капитал – это
have got
супер важно.
different
Недавно мы все, там,
major
большинство из наших
functions.
участников
Human
присутствовали на
capital is
Питерском
very
экономическом
important for
форуме, и
us.
ключевые темы, конечно,
A
говорили,
short while ago,
хотя
we
и там
all
о
were
бизнесе, о
present at St.
вызовах, да, но тем
Petersburg
не менее
Economic
без
Forum. We
персонала
discussed
никуда. И
challenges as
три
well,
основные
and
категории, чем
HR
мы
is a
должны
very important
заниматься. Если
component
раньше,
for us.
там 5-10 лет назад мы в
Previously, like
основном
5 or 10
накачивали
years ago,
инфраструктурой, да, и
mostly we were
строили,
developing
покупали станки, то сейчас,
infrastructure,
конечно, упор
buying
на
machinery,
содержательное
machine
взаимодействие.
tools. Now we
Для компании
concentrate on
важно, конечно
content
же,
of what we do.
компетенции,
For
для
company,
компании важно же,
competences
конечно,
are
развитие
extremely
лидерских качеств,
important.
и для компании
Leadership
безумно важна
qualities,
корпоративная
development,
культура.
and
И в этой
corporate
связи,
culture is
что касается
extremely
группы Татнефть, у
important.
нас тоже одним из
As to
ключевых драйверов
Tatneft Company
развития и
Group, this is
стратегии
one of the key
2030. Мы в
drivers of
2016
the
году утвердили
strategy of
2025.
2030.
В 2018
First, we
году поняли,
identified
что мы ее уже
strategy
достигли. В
2025,
2018
but we
году в сентябре
accomplished it by
утвердили 2030,
2018.
а уже в
Then we
2019 году
identified
поняли, что мы
2030
уже
strategy.
и
And
по
this year,
добыче
we figured out that
32, которые
when it
поставлены,
comes
почти
to
уже 2,2
upstream,
миллиона достигли,
we
нужно уже
almost
50
reached
ставить.
those
Но в
32
условиях
million
ограничений, конечно, да. Тем не
in
менее,
production.
поэтому как раз эти три аспекта
So
и
those
в
three
отношении этих трех
components are very
аспектов мы пытаемся
important,
выстраивать взаимодействие, в том
and
числе и даже
we try
касаемо
to develop
аспектов
them.
корпоративной культуры
Same
по ряду
goes for
программ,
corporate
которые
culture.
мы
We've got a
совместно
wide range
пытаемся
of different
реализовывать
programs we try
для
to
наших партнеров
implement jointly
Альминского
for our
нефтяного
partners for Oil Institute. We are the curators for all the development of this institute of institution of high learning. Our lecturers are undergoing in-service training in this corporate university because we develop the competences of the lecturers. So we have got a training program for them, because before that we were concentrated on repair, labs, assets, and so on. But educational milieu is very important, and also the content changes, the speed of those changes is very important as well, and we should cope with those problems. Business should be high quality, customer describing which competences will be needed and how rapidly they are going to change them for way out into the future. And education organizations are very conservative system, and it's very difficult to persuade it to move sideways. Oftentimes, businesses are fully aware that they need some changes, some new type of personnel, and so they themselves open up master's degree programs, specialized ones. And of course, we do have the in-house development program and outside the program, which is related to development of hard skills and soft skills. Soft skills and report, we arrange that by our own in-house trainers. About 4,000 employees undergoes those training courses to develop hard skills and soft skills. We have got strategic sessions, narrations, brainstorms, and so on. We develop soft skills, mostly, especially for young employees. In Tatarstan, we're just lucky that we have got youth organization, not just within TransNeft group, but also in servicing companies. 10,000 people, our own group, but also altogether it's another 70,000 people, although only 50,000 people work in our company, but we outreach other entities. And as socially responsible business, we encourage the development of this useful activity. And we've got lots of best practices. We created scientific educational cluster on the verge of 2000, and we have got operating acting cluster, which is based on TransNeft group, of course, and actually it was filed as a legal entity with the support of the government of Tatarstan Republic. It's different development programs, and also it's about the content of the programs. There are different educational programs which are very interesting. As the best practices, we have got very good interaction with higher education institutions, and we conducted a survey. Our HR analysts were also cooperating in this analysis. We analyzed our activities over a time span of 15 years about career growth and so on. But this practice is not always very efficient. We should reconsider this work. As regards the practice, we made certain practices from Sberbank 3 years ago. We launched the great program of professionalism, raising all the top 100 and top 300 TransNeft groups. They should conduct interactive classes in educational institutions. Actually, so we do this since 2017 together. It's a project, the professional, the first person. We developed those skills, and we have got the framework of this project. And we have got lots of best practices related to educational programs, which we always update. And there is a large project which was launched in Valmetim's, the construction of large campus of Valmetiv Oil Institute. 1.5 billion rubles will be invested in construction of this campus, which will unite scientific and research units. The campus will unite the educational component and R&D component. There will be laboratories and there will be educational programs. There is a very interesting project and program which is called In the Project. We decided to receive only those students who had been through practice and who knew how to resolve specific business tasks for us. So we onboard exactly this type of young specialists. And there are 3 types of different research tasks which those young specialists can do jointly. We have got about 1,500 projects, and each and every student is entitled to join up with this, and depending on different analytical tasks, because all of this is digitalized, they get the financial remuneration for their good job. An interesting project, another one for master's degrees courses were opened up. In 2016, we opened this master's degree for modeling and control of development of deposits of hydrocarbon. We developed new functionality. Actually, it's IT, geology, geophysics, geological, geophysical simulation. Then we opened up master's degree on hydrofracks, then on HR analytical studies, and master's degree on research, because we figured out that lecturers are not researchers yet. The beauty of it is that up to 98% actually the content tailor-makes business, and our students in this master's degree get a financial remuneration, and then they get guaranteed employment in labor market. When we are onboarding those students, we prepare them in a customized, tailor-made way for this market, because we foster skills and knowledge in them to be successful in the labor market. Another interesting example, we have got very interesting venue, annual forum, science and innovations. Last year it was the first time we hosted this event, which unites business, science, and practitioners from oil and gas sector. Last year we had the forum of science and innovations. It encompassed 15 countries as participants. There were 42 different events, workshops, and so on, mostly of scientific nature. We were supported by the Ministry of Energy, and we decided that it's important for us to turn to other formats when we are developing or evaluating the future young specialists and leaders. So we convene young specialists, best specialists, and on the same venue there are young trainers working, that is, young lecturers who are the drivers and generators of new educational programs. They are the conduits in fostering different competences and senior courses students. There will be a forum in July. There will be 42 teams. They'll get together on the same venue, and for 4 days they'll cope with 21 business visits. It's like a hackathon which we borrowed from IT events. In each team, apart from lecturer and young specialist, there should be the third course student or master's degree student, an IT specialist or other data scientist who, by the same token, has been generating new ideas, working together with the other team members. That will encourage young lecturers, because when they check out beautiful pictures on the chairs and they walk through the premises of the university, you'll see that there is sort of generation gap. Some Some professors are very old by their age, and some are very young and inexperienced. There is the age divide between them. We should develop young lecturers, young trainers. There will be a grant for internship, and so there will be very interesting educational program, and we should actually keep abreast of the business needs in contemporary markets.
У каждого из нас есть семья и люди, которыми мы дорожим. Каждый из нас движется к одной цели. Поэтому не важно, кто ты, мужчина или женщина, русский, татарин или афроамериканец, инженер или оператор. Мы – молодежь. Мы – будущее.
Мы – Татнефть.
Приглашаем.
So we invite you to our events, and I hope this information came in handy for you. Thank you.
Mr. Glasgow, thank you very much for your contribution. In the discussion part, we would love to hear more how you measure the impact of the activities that you have with academia, and how you follow the educational path of students that have been employed in your company, the career path of the students and the new employees. I would now invite Mr. Taglat Karashev, Executive Director of KazEnergy, who will read the speech of Mr. Sarsenov, who was unfortunately not able to join us now.
Добрый день, уважаемые участники.
Dear participants, good evening, brother. We're all on the threshold of new technological revolutions. And new competitive edges, which concerns oil and gas sector as well. Previous industrial revolutions turned around the image and the face of our sector. This time, through digitalization, we'll be able to come up with great breakthroughs. We are at the inception stage. We're only beginning doing that. We'll have to do a big bulk of work because the world has been redefining itself. Kazakhstan has embarked upon new programs, and despite global changes, the economy of our country throughout many years displays stability, and it takes the leader role in that region. Key role is played by oil and gas sector, which supports the budget, and it has vast capacity. Kazakhstan nowadays, on an annual basis, produces more than 90 million tons of crude oil and gas condensate and more than 55 billion cubic meters of natural gas. This volume is record high throughout our history. And shortly, by 2025, we'll reach over 1 million benchmark for annual oil production. And we have got the governmental program to most efficiently use those technologies. So this is the new year-marked federal program, Digital Kazakhstan. It's a significant complex program uniting different digital technologies. And even now we can see that it greatly increases the efficiency of all the processes inside the company, mindful of new Industrial Revolution 4.0, as it's called. We should partner with businesses, R&D centers.
Only using the traditional experience of knowledge and achievements based on modern information technologies will be able to ensure a synergy effect. Today, to resolve that problem, the activity of the companies set up 27, that is the International Financial Center Astana, that is a unique center in the academic map of the world that brings together the experience of the advanced centers from New York, London to Dubai, Hong Kong, and Singapore. Besides, recently, we have set up the International Center of Green Technologies, which the main objective of which is to support the projects in the sphere of sustainable energy and training in innovations, the localization of technology, participation in trade quotas. We have the single digital space in the European Economic Union. On the basis of Expo 2017, IT startup was set up as the hub that will become the core of the innovative ecosystems. All these projects are unique in their ideas and contents, training in innovations, localizations, and technologies. They support the passage to the sustainable development of the sector, but they can't be implemented without our professionals to succeed in the new digital space. We have to get correct education and correct tools. Today, in Kazakhstan, we have higher educational institutions in oil and gas field that train the best personnel for the sector. That is Kazakhstan British Technical University, Nazarbayev University. For instance, Nazarbayev University is trying to become the internationally recognized research university, and the basic principle is integration of education, science, and innovation. It is targeted at training the new generation of leaders in science, technology, entrepreneurship, and so on. Besides, we have Otrava University of Oil and Gas, with support of the Association of Kazenergo, that implements different projects and initiatives. The Association of Kazena that I represent, the National Oil and Gas Holding, is a private international company that are members of our association cooperate with it annually from 2009 on the initiative of the Association Kazenergy, and our national company and Gas conduct a contest for the scholarship named after Sabayev for the students of high schools of Kazakhstan annually. We train about 100 students. This September, in the capital of Kazakhstan, will open a new IT university that will specialize in training professionals for digital economy in the theme of software and big data, software engineering, cybersecurity, robotics, and other curricula. Our partnership in oil and gas education will not be limited by local school. With support of the Association Kazenergy, Kaznegor has a cooperation agreement in education and training of personnel in oil and gas sector with the State University of Oil and Gas, named after Gubkin. The parties cooperate in development and organizing of special MBA program, modular education for engineering and technological personnel. Kazan gas companies has a special program for refresher courses for those who work in national companies. On the initiative of the Association Kazenergy recently, we started working jointly with Otrava University on dual education, exemplified, for instance, for the student, we offer 1 month of residency and 1 month of training and 1 month of residence at the company. So each student will have an experience of combining job and work and education simultaneously. After the end of the training course, they receive a diploma and they have some service life already. We have to create the conditions so that the labor market in oil and gas sector will have the best human capital, and the technologies will develop together with high schools, and science will develop so that the management level will increase in accordance with the market trends. Soon there will be digital leaders in the market that will make a technological breakthrough which we're looking forward to. And I hope that will happen in the near future. This year, on the initiative of Dastan Kazenergy, jointly with the government of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan Energy Week is held in September. During this week, we are planning to conduct the International Youth Forum, taking account of the fact that this year in Kazakhstan we have the Year of the Youth, and this event will be attended also by the international students, young professionals, and I would also like to invite all of you to take part in this event. And the additional information can be received from the site kazenergyforum.com. That is an annual event, and it has a long-term history, but this year we wanted to organize it on a greater scope at the international level. So I invite all of you to take part in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
But
we are a bit out of time, so I would like to invite Ms. Pinar Yilmaz to take the floor. We would be especially interested also to hear how professional associations facilitate the partnership between industry and academia.
There's nothing like being the last speaker on the last hour of the first day of the conference, when everybody who went to the Scarlet Sales didn't come back till 3 a.m. So I'm sure there are a lot of you that are ready for another night of spectacular events at this Youth Forum. My name is Pinar Yilmaz, and I have been with ExxonMobil for a long time. And I have been coordinating a lot of our university and academic collaborations and cooperations around the world for a while. So I would like to take a different aspect of what the previous panelists have covered and just sort of give you a brief overview of what industry actually does in terms of both cooperation and collaboration, and especially from the perspective of the youth. I was very happy to see the youth questionnaire, because some of those are straight on in terms of what the youth have replied. There's specific correlations between industry and the next generation. And we, as industry, we would like to encourage and cooperate with the youth. And the best place for it, of course, are the academic centers. So how do we do this? We do this in several ways. We all came from academia. We all came either with a bachelor's, master's, or a PhD. And we thought, especially those that went for the PhD, oh my God, I'm the world's expert. I am top, you know. And then you enter industry. Nobody even knows you have a PhD. It doesn't matter. You might be working for somebody who has only a bachelor's degree. So you realize that PhD thesis or a master's thesis that you did is really for you. It's not for advancing yourself in the industry, but it does help to get extra vacation and probably start at a higher level than you would have thought. So why not go back to these academic centers that we came from? We know what we went through when we came for our degrees, and now we know what industry really wanted. They retrain us so we can look for oil and gas, we can go into downstream and refine the oil that these upstream people, geologists and engineers, find and produce for us. And now we look at chemicals, we look at the products. Everything around this room and everything we have on us at our home has something that came from the oil industry, some chemical process that produced the result that we're using, from our cell phones to some of our clothes to some of the equipment. And some of this stuff is so integral part of us that we forget that we all came from that same academic area. And if we go back on campus, we can actually tell the academicians, our former colleagues, our professors, you know, this research or this topic that we were working on, this could really apply to a problem to produce energy. So how do we do that? I just have this outline. We have the centers of learning. These are the places where we all came from, academia with data, information, knowledge, and expertise access. Some of the professors are world-class experts in those fields. They are the places where you get new research ideas. It's not that industry does not have research. Some of the oil and gas companies have world-class research centers, and you might even have extremely intelligent, fascinating people working on breakthroughs. But academia also has a lot of these. So there's a lot that we can get for research ideas. Innovative partnerships and joint ventures, this is the critical part where academia and industry cooperate. So from the industry perspective, we have global trends that we are aware of. We have technology that is developed daily in producing energy, from exploration, production, chemicals, refining, and what is the resource? Can we get alternates to substitute for some of the oil and gas? Could we go for, like ExxonMobil works in biofuels, algae? How can algae be another energy source? Solar, wind. I come from the city of Houston, which is where I work. The city of Houston, which is the center for energy for US, is one of the very few cities in the entire USA that most of the energy is from alternates, solar and wind, which might surprise you, but you know, yes, that's the place where they also have 10 million barrels a day production, but 70% of the city is from wind and power. So what happens? Some of these world-class centers are now concentrating on how alternates could be the energy source. Of course, everybody knows we have a reputation problem. We have not really touched base with the public in over 100 years of our history for the oil and gas industry, so we need to approach broader audiences and where to do it best, but in academic areas. So how can the two work together? Of course, funding is something nobody really talks about. Money is supposed to be impolite, but money is a great way to support activities on campus, whether it's a research project, whether it's field work, whether it's lab analysis, or whether it is funding conferences like this, where both industry and academia and young and old can get together. And I congratulate the youth for getting unbelievable sponsorship for this event from all major Russian companies and few of the international ones. Of course, all the professors and researchers on this panel talked about talent pipeline, how to get the students into industry. So that's another aspect that both of us can work together. All right, can I have it forward? Yes. All right, thank you. Types of cooperation. Industry consortium and advisory boards are a great way to attract both the academic area and the industry. When I went to my boss and said, Utrecht University in the Netherlands was studying mantle processes, and I'll never forget, our executive VP looked at me in the eye and said, why do I care about something 2,400 kilometers depths of the earth when oil and gas is usually found in the top 15 kilometers. So I set out to tell him that the heat flow, basin formation, migration, maturation, reservoir was really things he should consider. And then he looked at me and goes, why didn't you tell me that first? This was about 20 years ago at Utrecht University. We go to be members of different consortia. There are lots of companies, both domestic, international, national company, and the major global players. There's Cambridge University CAS program, which started as the Arctic study. Now they study a lot of areas around the world. And there's an advisory board, a scientific advisory board of 7 company representatives. They give direction to Cambridge, which is a very much field-based data collecting and analysis type consortium on where the trends are next. There's a place in US, University of Minnesota. They are on top of the Mississippi River, and there's actually a lab, right? You know, you look through the iron grates, there's a big Mississippi River flowing under you. They have channeled that, so you actually see how rivers deposit sediments, how reservoirs form. It's a great consortia that a lot of people in reservoir description belong to. If you look at what some of the companies have done, University of Texas, Bureau of Economic Geology, they have most of the cores around Gulf Coast and some international. Several of the companies have given their cores to this university where everybody can come and make studies. Seismic data. We, as a lot of industry, seismic is our bread and butter. But you can also donate it to universities where students can come up with new ideas, new plays, things that we haven't even thought about. So a great place for depository of data. Share best practices. Take the medical field. Nobody really thinks oil and gas should be associated with the medical field, but they are the forefronts to our seismic, to our reservoir, to our nanotechnology. How the vessels of our body, how the blood rotates, how they can go in with these tiny little cameras with tiny little incisions and take cancer cells out. Think of it as that's the reservoir, that's our migration, that's our reservoir sweet spots. We learn a lot from medical industry. Nanotechnology, scaling up and down, that's NASA, that's the space agency. A lot of us have been on NASA projects where we tell them how can they scale down a drilling rig into only 6 centimeters, where they have to use the drilling bit as both the pipe and the vessels so that they can drill on Mars or Moon or other planets. There's also IT, artificial intelligence. A lot of companies are now cooperating with departments that really work that. Duke University, about 30 years ago, went to East Africa and studied the lakes. Guess what? Now everybody's in East Africa. And those professors distributed, those students distributed to a lot of other academic areas or even industry. Now that knowledge is being used because they actually went, the students actually did theses on the lake sediments in East Africa. And that's a new area of exploration and production for the industry. So you have to do it officially to do a master agreement with the university where company and the academia will work from time to time on a technical project. Takes a long time because there are contractual issues or whatever, but it can be done. And now once you have that, then it's much easier for students and faculty to work with the industry. But the best part is presence on the campus. Advocacy to a broader audience, research applications, reciprocal sabbaticals, workshops, and adjunct teachers. On your survey, there was a point that being on campus or getting lectures or workshops was high on education. We have a lot of our own employees that are adjunct professors whether it's at Rice University, University of Houston, University of Texas, University of Minnesota, Stanford, whatever. They just go teach for a couple of weekends, Friday through Saturday, every so many months, and they help with curriculum. And those students also come on campus, or they're taken to the field where industry experts teach them, whether it's stratigraphy, structure, base analysis, hydrocarbon systems. But it's just the students. And one thing that's really, really important is on your survey, the internship was low on the list. Most companies hire from internship programs. So even though a lot of the youth answered that as lower rank, consider future employments through that area. So in summary, academia offered new research ideas, fieldwork, data, samples. The biggest part, of course, is the next generation. A lot of us are going to retire, and you, as the youth, are the next generation to produce the energy for the world. Industry offers a lot of applications to these academic ideas. Work experiences, internships. You actually are a geologist or an engineer or a geophysicist on a project when you're an intern. You're not the one who gets coffee or does the Xerox or anything. You're considered a full-time employee for the months that you're there with full rights, full expectations, and you are the leaders in that team. So internship is actual work experience, and I think we heard some of the examples from the previous speakers. As I said, data is a big thing. That's a depository of actual data that universities can do. So we can gain and retain access, both from the academic perspective and the industry, leverage joint research projects, and future careers. Thank you very much.
Ms. Yilmaz, thank you very much for your contribution. We will have time for final remarks from our speakers, but before that, I would like to address the audience and ask whether there is someone who would like to share a rewarding experience, or he has a question that he would like to ask our distinguished speakers. From the stage. Or on the stage, Anne.
So my name is Anna. I'm from the Young Professionals Committee of the World Petroleum Council, representing Russia. And I would like to address the whole panel with just a quick question or maybe small brainstorming. I mentioned I saw in the results of the survey that like 1/3 of those who responded to this survey didn't receive enough information of the potential of the cooperation between the sector and academia. So they could have participated, they could participate in some programs, but they just didn't know that there are many opportunities open for them. So I would like to hear just some ideas, how can we improve it? Because 1/3 out of 1,000 mean like 300 people didn't get enough information on these opportunities. So could you please just give me your idea from business side, academia side, and you, Tamara and Zaid, from like young professional side, what can we improve in that, in communicating these opportunities? Thank you.
Before our speakers take the floor, I guess one of the speakers could respond from the side of either universities or companies. From the side of young professionals, this question was asked of the respondents, and many of them said that they were not aware, or even if they were aware, they did not have the opportunity. So one of the methods how this could be improved is maybe improving the selection process in terms of trying to reach to as many possible students and selecting, if for example one student participated in one type of program, selecting another one to participate in another type. In addition, they also mentioned that they maybe use some other social networks or channels of communication which were not covered by the communication mechanisms of universities and companies. So maybe trying to use social networks, trying to use word of mouth. This is the mechanism. We also realized in the survey that the people completed the surveys through their personal networks. So putting an ambassador between the students who will be the advocate of a program, of a university, or of a company would be a good mechanism to increase participation. Pinar? Or Mr. Martinov?
Well, one of the easiest ways for communication is through professional society memberships, because a lot of professional societies have programs that are joined with academic centers. So, for example, Society of Exploration Geophysicists, the students that attend, they get to go on these workshops that different companies sponsor, whether it's geophysics of an area where they actually tie the geophysics to the rocks, to the outcrop, so they can actually do data to seismic. But it's a one-week-long course that's given to students that are members of SEG. So it's a great way, even if your campus doesn't have industry representatives, or even if your professors don't tell you about some of the programs industry has, I would really encourage the young, even the young professionals that have already started work, join your professional societies. WPC Youth Program is one, of course, but there are lots of Society of Petroleum Engineers, European Association of Engineers and Geoscientists, American Association of Geologists. Join one of the professional societies so you can get to know what industry is doing if your campus does not have that information.
Thank you very much. Mr. Martinov, we would like one impactful sentence from you, how you see this.
Очень коротко.
Very briefly, the world is oversaturated with information, especially oil and gas companies actually tell a lot about interactions of profile oil and gas institutions and oil and gas companies. As I've told you in my presentation, it's all about motivations, incentives, and the willingness to get this information. There is a lot of information online, all the information in the world, but you should be willing to use it and search for data. Do it.
Thank you very much. And I would like to ask all speakers for a final sentence, a short response to the question. What would you advise your academic or corporate counterpart in terms of increasing and improving the cooperation? One sentence each, and we can conclude.
There is a very good saying, when there is a will, there is a way. You move forward and you'll have the way and you'll be on the right track. Ambitious goals and fabulous results.
Maybe it's a piece of advice both for university and companies is to try to develop the sandwich training.
I think both parties should be very flexible. They should adapt to changes and they should manage those changes as well. I think we should always be in search for something new. We live in a rapidly redefining world. The entire world has been redefining itself. We should search for new information and keep learning and learning.
I would only say you're all leaders, so take leadership in hand. You can do anything.
Thank you very much. This was the last panel session of the first day of the forum. At 19 hours, there will be the beginning of the Neva cruise. Please consult your guidebooks on the shuttles that are available from different locations. And we hope to continue having fun and discussing at the cruise. And I also want to ask the speakers to remain on stage because we would like to present you with small gifts of attention.